one paycheck away. Because what happened to me was, had I not gotten fired from that job, the money I was making, we as a group would not be living here right now. What's going to happen is, where are we going to find a 2-bedroom apartment in the city of Gainesville to where we can work in the city of Gainesville and afford? Because not only do you have to pay the rent, you got to pay the utilities. 2-bedroom apartment, you're talking $2 grand, and then you got to pay a deposit. And then you got to get your utilities hooked up and pay deposits. And then.
There's a lot of seniors that can't afford to live somewhere.
Disabilities.
Yeah, and disabilities. And I don't know where all those older people live. Some of them live in their cars. But to me, that's heartbreaking, because you see these people that are in their 60s and 70s, and they're starting to have medical issues. They literally have nowhere to go. And they're not safe really being out on the street. There is a group of people that simply want to live that way. They want to be off the grid. Yeah, they see it as being independent. Nobody can tell them what to do, and all cities provide enough that they don't really have to. I mean, we had one guy told us, he said, I lived under the bridge for 6 years and I was never hungry. I mean, so.
All right, we've been here 8 months. Honestly, it's kind of good living, because we don't cost nothing and we take care of ourselves.
Because we all have cell phones. You know, I watched a movie on a tablet last night. I had to charge it again this morning, you know.
And there's so much disinformation that leads the conversation with homelessness that it's hard to get past that. So that's kind of where we seem to be stuck. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the known. Most of the homeless work. In this community and across the nation, the statistics will tell you that at least 50 or more % are working. People don't find themselves in homelessness as a result of drugs or alcohol. Drugs and alcohol is an active part of the homeless community, but it's not what puts them there. It's a coping mechanism that they use to survive. And I think that's vital information, because when you think of it as that's the causation of the homelessness, it's easy to think of them as dishuman. And you don't really, there's no moral obligation to be my brother's keeper. Once you hear the stories, you're like, damn, that could happen to me, just like that. It can happen to him, just like that. It can happen to her, just like that. And it does, every single day.
The few mementos that you have, people that have unfortunately overdosed and everything, yeah, that keeps you going. You're already depressed. You already feel sometimes without faith it'd be hopeless. It's sentimental things. Pictures of my son, you know, I've lost everything.
No, it's hard, honey. I'm lucky I've got a good man by my side. But it's hard. It really is. I have trouble walking, but I don't go out and about without him or one of my brothers. It's scary out there. It's scary out there. And I'm a rape survivor. So I'm even more acute to danger, Will Robinson.
I was homeless. I stayed in the tent for like 10 years. Deal with alcohol problem. I was a bad drunk. Like, I really didn't see no way out. I went to jail. So I stopped drinking while I was incarcerated. But I still couldn't find out like what I needed to do to get through life. I woke up. I told myself that I would never go back to being homeless again.
I mean, you know, when I was 8, I was abandoned, so I never really had any family to speak of. I've had my episodes back and forth with drugs, alcohol, you know, just any way to cope. Almost never not had a job. When I got out here to Gainesville, I wound up going to jail. And when I got out, I spent about 3 months on the streets out here. Not fun. but nothing that I'm not used to. I've done it all before multiple times.
There is a great deal of mental illness. I think we have a lot of our former military that, have struggled through PTSD, and they get out of care with the VA, and you get off your meds. They get separated from family, and get a little disconnected, and then it becomes a way of life.
I was born in California. My people is from Hawaii, Philippines, and I've been living out in the street for a long time. Sometimes it's hard to say things, but whenever you laying down, you think about all this stuff what people goes through. I was stuck up here in 7 years over there in the Marines, up there 3 days in Iraq, over there underneath the sand. You know how hard it is underneath the sand? Like over almost 200, and you got all this equipment on you. You got all this, stuff on you, and you're sweating. Hell, I'm only thinking about the world. I'm ready for war. That's how we train. We're ready. We're ready to go, and that's what I'm waiting for. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It's just we're trained that way. I don't know. It's just sometimes it's hard to think about, that stuff, like that. But that's why I'm not weak. I'm not weak. We're not trained to be weak, and I'm always like watching, every noise that I hear,
It's sunny outside, but windy. Now I'm racing the clock because I don't want to go back to jail. I don't want to relax. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to survive tonight. That's the document. And the only way I can survive tonight, man, is staying prayed up. It ain't hard out here because I'm determined to make it. But it is hard out here. Once you're an addict, you always an addict. I don't care how many goddamn groups you go to or rehabs. So
the homelessness specifically, I think that's where we really have to have that coordination and all get on the same page. And because what we don't have, we have some shelters that will take people who are willing to get off of alcohol or off of drugs. We've got that covered. What we don't have is we go find somebody right out there today who's homeless. Where can we take them today? The way the zoning works is I don't care where it is in the city. If we have a suggestion to put a shelter here, no matter who owns the property next to it, they would show up and go, you're devaluing my business by allowing a homeless shelter to go next door. They're going to come out against it. So it's like, where do you put a homeless shelter? So one of the things that I've worked on here recently is we have a shelter, a place that is zoned as a shelter. And we had a local business that was trying to buy it. I got involved meeting with Good News at Noon. And so now we're going to partner with Good News, a nonprofit, and we're going to invest in making this shelter habitable. We can create kind of a corridor. You got Good News, Set Free. We're trying to create an area, and that's what we're working through. Everybody requires like a first and last month's rent, or that barrier to entry to get into housing. So there are things that we can do, but there's also free market economics. So I think trying to address homelessness and try to address affordable housing is kind of two different conversations. From an affordable housing standpoint, one thing we're trying to do is maybe talk to developers to say, okay, you're going to put 200 units, 10% of them have to be pulled back for school teachers, public safety workers at a reduced rent. I mean, there's not a silver bullet to say we're going to fix this. But you can't just get rid of it by shipping people out. You've got to address the issue. And if you don't address the issue, all this economic development that you're enjoying can become, it can become a problem to that. It's, okay, so they're here. How do we deal with them? That's part of it. And then how do we prevent it? So it's trying to find a way that we can help but not enable. And I don't know, I don't pretend to have all that answers, but I do feel like we're gonna work to try to figure it out.
The death spiral. And that means that if 70% of the families in a given community are 2 paychecks away from homelessness. And that should scare the shit out of people. That really, I think, really changes the whole perspective of understanding the homeless. The most rewarding aspect of the work we do is the people that have gotten out.
Amen.
And there's quite a few that have gotten out. There's different ways that it's happened. It's always been miraculous, but it does happen. And we just keep them alive until the miracle arrives. And all they want to do is encourage them that you can do this. Just got to stay strong and it will happen.
Completed all my courses. I stayed on the same path I wanted to be on. And like 3 weeks ago, I just got OSHA certified. And I got a certification for welding. So I'm a certified welder. Now since I've been here, like this program here gave me a better way of life. When I became certified in welding, it really gave me like a life. It really made me feel good. Because now when I do leave, I have a job that giving me the pay that I'm able to take care of myself.
And then I started coming here, and that was nice. There's a lot more in me that needed work than I thought. And it didn't really come to light until I was in here. Just, I didn't have time to think about it. And I didn't have a safe place to express it either. Hopefully, I'm almost done with the Better Me program that Carla has set up here for everybody. And hopefully I'll be getting back into the workforce again. Yeah. And they actually want us around. And they care, which I didn't have that. That's all you got when you're out there. It's you versus the world.
But we've made it this far. Things are going to get better. This is temporary. You can take away everything I've done, but you cannot take away my faith. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You ain't never going to keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
And it's